eNCA parliamentary correspondent Lester Kiewit, who is in Parliament. Lester, welcome to this conversation. So one of the things that came to the fore was this whole situation around the rooting out of corruption and how, you know, the rot that is set in state institutions such as intelligence agencies are concerned. President Cyril Ramaphosa making some firm commitments on that. What is he committing to?
Well, the President is committing to a review panel on the mandate of the State Security Agency. As you well know, over the last few months and years, some really controversial things coming out of the State Security Agency, with talk of it being overrun, with it being used for party political means and internal ANC political means, and some really serious allegations coming out of this, especially after that expose by journalist and author Jacques Poe, especially those revelations connected to the now former Director General Arthur Fraser. Now, the President was asked about that redeployment of Mr. Fraser from the Director General of the State Security Agency, somewhat of a lateral move to the Department of Correctional Services. There was questions by the DA's Musi Maimane saying that there's enough prima facie criminal evidence that could lead to a possible prosecution of Mr. Fraser, and asked on that basis, why did the President promote him laterally, one would argue, and not simply fire him. Now, the President, in a response, saying that because the Democratic Alliance has decided to challenge that decision by the President, he says that he's unable to answer because it is now before the courts. Take a listen to this clip.
Much as I would have wanted to engage Mr. Maimane, I have found that I now have to respond to the papers that they have launched in court, which we are going to do, because truly Mr. Maimane and the DA do warrant a response or a reply as to the decision that was taken to have Mr. Arthur Fraser transferred to a separate department away from the department that he was running. So we will be able to provide that answer through those court papers. And as they say, the matter is now sub judice, and I'd like to leave it there so that we can address the matter.
Now, Tulas, the Democratic Alliance's John Steenhuisen, after that point, raising a point of order, and one would argue rightfully so, that the President using the sub judice rule. Now, there's been many court decisions on this matter saying that the sub judice rule is not an excuse for the President not to answer any question that is put forward to him in Parliament, and this has often been used as a tactic used by former presidents and ministers to try and wiggle themselves out of the question. But the President somewhat relenting, and later on saying that that he has managed to keep Mr. Fraser sort of within the circle, within the Department of Correctional Services, while this SSA review panel is still on the way. And one could argue that the President would want to keep Mr. Fraser still in terms of government, so that in many ways he could still be held accountable. Mr. Fraser could still be called to Parliament as part of a delegation from the Department of Correctional Services, but he'd still be obligated to answer any question that's put forward to him by any MP. So while the President is officially saying that this is a matter that is still before the courts and he cannot talk openly about it, he is still at the same time hinting that he'd rather want to keep Mr. Fraser inside the setup, so to speak, so that he can still deal with this matter, still dogging the State Security Agency.
What a fascinating session it's been, Lester. I mean, innocuous it looked at the start, but it produced a whole lot, a great deal by way of drama, but also by way of commitments. Thank you so much for that update, Lester Kiewit, down in Parliament.